that, but I don't have to because there are tricks for easily printing these UI and formatting things. For example, that first line can be printed just like this. Now, remember me saying that you can't do math on strings? There's a few exceptions to that, and this is one of them. If I print the number sign times 80, boom, it's done. And I can do that with any character or any string, right? So if let's go to my Scratch file here. I can do the number sign times 80. It's not going to run the right thing here. Let's get that started. There we go. All right, so now obviously this goes off the screen only because my font size is really big so you guys can read it, but there's 80 of those. Now, if I wanted to, I could have a different pattern that was like repeating. And if I wanted it to be 80 characters, I would know this is 2, so 2 times 40 is 80, right? Math. And you can produce a different kind of pattern. So there are different things you can do here other than that, right? We've got this one. And what this one does is it prints 9 number signs, and then it prints the string Bill's calculator. And I have a new string method here called center. And what that does is it takes this and it puts it in the middle of 60 spaces. It centers it in a line of 60. It fills in the rest with space characters. And then I have another 9. How many does that equal total? 78, which is not 80. Where are the other 2 spaces coming from? Look carefully at what I'm doing here. The spaces come because I'm putting multiple arguments in my print statement. And what that does is these produce a space. So I'm just cheating a little bit. But the cool thing about this is that this center, if I wanted to do this the old-fashioned way, right, I would figure out how many spaces are in this string. I would count how many characters are in this string. And then I would subtract that from 60, divide 60 by 2, and put that number of spaces on each side. This saves me all that work because it'll put this right in the middle of this, which is centered on the line. So if I want to, let's say, okay, but if I wanted to just put that right in the middle of that line of text, I'm just going to say center that in 80. I don't have to care how many characters this is because it's just going to find the middle of it and put it right in the middle of that 80. Now you can't see where the end of that line is, but it's probably somewhere about right here, which would put that in the middle. If we want to verify that, I can put my other line above that. Then we can see, there you go, it's sort of in the middle there. But you can see now, I have that ability. So I also have, like this, there is a right justify. Now the reason I would use this, and you will use this later in the class, well, let's look at these without it, without that. So if I have $2 amounts, like this, and I want to print them out, Okay, so I print them out like this, and that's a little tough to read. It's not very clean. And if I wanted to add them up, it makes it really complicated if I wanted to like visually line them up. So if I want to, what I can do is use a method called rjust or right justify, and I'll right justify it in 20 spaces. And when I do that, it lines them up. Okay. And basically what that means is if I'm saying rjust with 20 spaces, it means it's going to make it so that each of these lines is 20 spaces long, and it's going to put the string at the right-hand side of it and fill in the rest of it with spaces. Now, if I want to, I can also specify what character to fill in the spaces with instead of the space. And so it's going to fill in with dots or hyphens or whatever I want. So you can make things look kind of nice that way. And so this last one here, okay, is just another way to do it. It's how I print a border on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So I print this, then I print 74 spaces, and then I print this, and each of the commas gives me another space. I could use concatenation or the plus sign to get exactly 80 without having to do the guesswork of the commas, but there's just two different ways of doing things. Okay, so printing a UI like that does a lot for you and allows you to do some things that look nice. So I want you to start using some of those things as we get into these assignments. I want you to start thinking about user interface and menu. How do you explain, excuse me, how do you explain to the user the best way to do things? How do you hint them at the proper interactions with your program so you have fewer errors?